So initially when I had gotten approached with this idea, I met with Aaron and Rich, who wrote the pilot. You guys saw the pilot, correct? Yeah. Okay, cool. And they had said, wouldn't it be interesting if the girl who's supposed to die ended up living, and she has to live with all these decisions and choices she made while she was living, while she was dying. So I loved it. I initially thought it was such a great idea and something that I had never seen or heard before. And it's very interesting, you know, where we pick up in the pilot and you meet this girl who is pretty impulsive anyway, but if she's living like she's dying, she's going to do some crazy stuff, like meet a guy she's known, or marry a guy she's known for 3 days in Paris, and who knows what else, you know, she's gotten herself into. But we meet her and we find out she's going to live, which is great news, but she realizes she has no idea who she is and no idea who her family really is, because they've been protecting her in this little bubble from the reality of their problems and the reality of the world. So when she finds out she's going to live, it's a bittersweet moment, because then at the same time, she realizes how insanely dysfunctional her family is, and that's been so fun to dive into in the later episodes. But I'll let you give your take.
Well, I mean, the same as you. When I initially read the pilot, I was struck by how different it was to the normal story, because it almost told what the movie version of this would typically be. But that was just the beginning, and you know that the real story begins at what would normally be the end. And that's something that you don't really see discovered in that sense. I also thought it was incredibly funny and heartwarming, and you know, during pilot season you read so many shows all the time trying to set up this dynamic and get you hooked and invested. And it was one of the only ones that I read, it was the first one that I read where I felt so engaged instantly with the characters. And loved Wes. So actually was very different in the pilot, but I loved the dynamic with both of them, with what they represented in the love that they had for each other and how impulsive it was, sort of in its purest form. And then getting to do it was also amazing, because it realized the potential it had when I read it. It was just as fun to make, just as funny, just as heartwarming, just as touching, just as real. And it's nice to not just skirt over the real issues and factors of going through something like cancer and surviving, but actually being honest about it and finding the humor in it where it's appropriate and telling a different version of that story. And yeah, it's continued to be fun so far. So far.
So far.
Yeah.
Don't push it.
Don't mess it up.